Now, my Aquarius friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today to talk about March 2025. This is your monthly horoscope. This is based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Aquarius, I'm referring to Aquarius as the first house and dictating the landscape of the chart. This is also applicable to Aquarius Sun and Aquarius Moon, but the chart structure will not be the same. If you don't know your rising sign, you can go to any one of the free birth calculators on the internet. You just need your exact time and location of birth to determine that information. And if for some reason you are an Aquarius sun and you find out you're a Libra rising, you're going to want to check out that Libra video. All right. So, and when I refer to a day and a time, it's based on the Pacific time zone. So please adjust for your location. March is a big month. There's going to be a concentration of energies in your second and third house. This is the house of your skills. The second house is your skills. It is your self-confidence as it was shaped by your home environment growing up. It is your personal perspective and your voice. It is your skills and your crafts. It is your possessions. It's a money house. It's also going to be highlighted through the eclipse season. The Pisces energy is going to be highlighted here. And I say that because there's a concentration of planets that are happening. We're going to have our first eclipse in Virgo is going to have the sun in Pisces conjunct Saturn. So this is very important. Saturn is your co-ruler. We are going to see Mercury and Venus retrograde from your third house into your second house and back again. And we're going to see Neptune move into your third house for the first time in 65 years. Ultimately, we are feeling a shift in the energies that is going to feel like an acceleration of time. Pluto has moved into your first house, really, bringing a revolution in some ways through a rebirth. And then we're going to see Uranus move into Gemini later in the year, which is going to accelerate things as well. And then Neptune's move from the dense energy of water and its domicile into the fire energy of Aries. Whoosh. It's going to be very quick. Let's pull up the chart, my Aquariuses, and look at it. So here we start off with, we've got Neptune, Mercury, the North Node, Saturn, and the Sun all in your second house. The second house is a very dreamy house when it's Pisces. It's very creative and talented, very musical, very poetic, a lot of dance and movement here. You could have a great talent for that. There's a lot of electricity in how you create here. I want to offer this because what we're looking at the beginning of the month is Mercury in this conjunction with the North Node and Neptune. And I think this is really thoughts of, how I want to assert my own talents, my skills, my voice. You could have a tremendous singing voice. Here with the second house of Pisces. You could be a singer-songwriter, you could be a photographer, you could be a filmmaker, you could be an amazing healer, color therapist, sound baths, anything to do with the healing through a creative process. And I think there's going to be a lot of thoughts about that and what you would like to do to move your story forward. And while it's not really in that big of a conversation, but it is, these 3 points, or, the North Node, Mercury, and Neptune are in a sextile to Pluto in your first house. Pluto is, going to transform something that no longer serves you into something that does, as you surrender to a bigger picture of who you are and allow for that expansiveness. We see at the first day of the month that Venus is in your third house of Aries, and she is considered in detriment in Aries. I don't know if I agree with that as much anymore, because I think we're starting to look at the feminine energy not as a woman per se, but as a receptive energy, as a gestating energy, as a creative energy. So Venus, that naturally rules the second house of Taurus, is going to retrograde from her detriment into her exaltation. So there's going to be a lot of self-talk and conversation about her skills, about how she wants to create resources and money and do it on her own terms. So this is very Aquarian to me, because Aquarius wants to move the story forward, to display their genius, and for their genius to literally help mankind. So I think this is going to be super powerful. I'm going to go to Venus is technically going to go retrograde on the 2nd, but I'm going to go to the 3rd. And I'm going to tell you, I did a separate video on Venus and Mercury's retrograde. It'll be, there'll be a link at the end of this video, because what I want to talk about now is Mercury moving into Aries. And just this small degree shift really changes the vibration of what Mercury is focused on, because now Mercury is feeling a sense of passion, wanting. Mercury is rules air in the Gemini energy, and it's a very quick planet, so it's wanting to really start to move the story forward. You changing potentially my environment, or adjusting my environment. Again, that 0 degree of Aries is that initial degree where the soul enters the dense physical and starts to discover itself within the physical, discover the way that it perceives things, the way that its body moves. So here, Mercury, as it moves through this 3rd house, is mostly focused in on the interactions with others, could potentially focus in on sibling activity, cousin activity, people in the neighborhood that have influenced you. And as it moves towards retrograding Venus, your self-worth, how you interact with these people, your capabilities will all come into focus. Let's move now to the 11th, where Mercury is still direct, but slowing down in its shadow period before it moves retrograde on the 15th. And there is Venus. So they're in an exact conjunction at this scorpionic degree. So there's, to me, there is as Mercury is moving forward, it's very much wanting to move past things. And Venus here is a little bit challenged, because this could be a little bit of a hot day. Your thoughts could be hot. Your frustration could be a little bit at a higher level. And I think part of that could be evidenced by the growing conjunction between the Sun and Saturn. We are going to see an eclipse, our first eclipse, which is going to be a full moon in Virgo, and Saturn will be a key player in that eclipse. Eclipses being fated events that bring situations and dynamics and people into play that give us opportunities to make karmic choices for our benefit. So I think that this is a powerful time, as Saturn rules restriction and limitation. And yet here in Pisces, Saturn is almost demanding that we not only create a strong relationship with our soul and with the vastness of who we are, but to have an intention about it. Not to just do it so that God will invite us into the pearly gates, but do it because we are driving the bus of our soul's experiences. So I think this is super powerful. Let's go to that eclipse. Again, it is a full moon eclipse. It's happening at 11:54 p.m. on the 3rd. Oh no, it's the 13th. So here we see that the moon is reflecting the light of the sun and Saturn. So there's some history coming in here. We see this is happening in your 8th house of transformation, of other people's money, of what you're enslaved to. I think that there's an illumination coming for my Aquarius is about something, with Saturn being a co-ruling planet at 22 degrees, which is a pretty challenging degree. And then having this full moon in Virgo being at the Aquarian degree, and the moon being, I think, in a tight enough orb to the South Node to want to release an emotional enslavement of some kind. And it could be that you don't feel that you do things well enough, or you're not perfect enough, or, the Virgo energy can be super critical and super the perfectionist, always having to worry, make sure it's doing something right. So there's going to be, I don't know that this is a reconciliation. It feels more like an illumination, a sudden awareness of, oh my gosh, I was saying this and I was thinking this and I was doing these things. That's the Venus Mercury retrograde. And I'm suddenly aware that I didn't realize I was doing that. One of the things that's so powerful for me as a soul walking a human experience is to recognize how my words create a vibration. So when I say I need to do something, I realize that I'm practically walking upside a hill. When I have to do it, it doesn't feel like fun. When I should do it, it feels like it's somebody else's idea. But when I get to do it, when I want to do it, when I love to do it, then these are all opportunities that change the vibration. To me, this is very much an opportunity to see how your words create a vibration. And that's the evidence of your emotional enslavement. And Mercury rules Virgo. Mercury is in play here as it's going to go retrograde. It's in shadow. It's literally sitting in the Aries energy, thinking about the self and the things it wants for the self. Okay, now let's go to the 15th, where we see Mercury retrograde. I'm going to go back to 12 p.m. And now Mercury and Venus are going to travel within 3 to 4 degrees together for the next few weeks, 3 weeks at least. And as they retrograde back over the world axis, a 0 degree of Aries, and come into conjunction with Neptune, I think this is the awarenesses that we have, the opportunities to sit in meditation or to sit in some sort of honoring ritual, some sort of ceremony to spirit, to the soul within, to allow the birthing of a grander and bigger version of yourself. I think it will be so powerful. Eclipses will bring in fated events, and the way these planets are lining up, it's really sort of a fated opportunity to be aware of my thoughts and to kind of integrate old habitual thoughts into new renovated 2.0 ideas. All right, now let's go we're going to see the sun conjunct Neptune as it begins its entry into Aries. The conjunction with Neptune takes place over the 19th and the 20th, even a little bit later. And then we see the sun come into a conjunction with Venus on the 22nd. And I think that this is interesting for a couple of reasons, because we don't often talk about the idea that Mercury and Venus have no moons. And if the moon represents our emotional body and our intuition, then there's a stretching of some kind for these two planets to step out of what they experience within the material and the earthbound, and look at things from a stronger position. So while the sun naturally, or it's considered in astrology, combusts a planet when it's conjunct it, here I think the sun is illuminating the ego and the emotional body that's attached to the ego that tanks us. So we've heard the acronym edging God out, but now we have an opportunity to see exciting God opportunities. And that's what I think is sitting here as I start to rewrite the story. Again, I bring up that Venus and Mercury have no moons because they travel the closest to the sun, frankly. And I think that's why the moons would be, somehow drowned out, burned up. And so both these planets are going to have their visit with the sun and re-examine the ego and where the emotional body, it's almost as if the planets are going to recognize that inherently all things have an emotional body, that that's the most natural thing, that it isn't until we infuse human structure on it that it starts to separate things. I hope that makes sense. It made perfect sense to me in the moment. Okay, let's go now to the 24th, where Mercury has its turn with the sun. And again, here's Venus she's conjunct the world axis. She's conjunct Neptune as she's reaching to stretch back into her exaltation, looking very much forward to her retrograde. This will not happen again. These planets will not come together like this again for 165 years. because Neptune will not be back in its rulership. So every time they meet for a while, it's going to be over here in Aries, while the North Node will be moving the other direction, and won't see Neptune again for about 12 and a 12. Well, it's not 12, it's more like 18 years, because it takes about a year and a half for the nodes to move through each sign. So this time and our awareness during this time, and even, if it feels a little disruptive, to notice that disruption and to notice the pattern that disruption illuminates is so incredibly powerful for us moving our stories forward and being intentional in the co-creation of it. And it's also where we're going to start to separate, and humans will truly become like muggles, and the rest of us will become more like, wizards, because we'll be able to manifest with our minds. The 27th will see Venus re-entering her exaltation happily and ready to revisit ideas of creativity, ideas of her skills, using her voice. This could revisit old partnerships, could come back into play, or people that you have collaborated with. Again, I would have a discerning eye about moving the story forward with them, but I would allow the revisit to reveal its wisdom. We will see on the 29th at 3:58 a.m., we will have a new moon solar eclipse in Aries at 9 degrees, while Mercury is retrograde on the world axis. When the moon and the sun come together in the dark phase of the moon, the new moon, it's about planting something in faith. And faith infers that I am a cooperative component to its manifestation, where hope takes me out of the equation. So Mercury is very much in its retrograde, being tasked to be aware of its thoughts. And I think that the sequential nature of 0, 29, 28, 27 feels very powerful. And again, this will not be possible again for 165 years. And even then, it might not be possible. I didn't look ahead, but I won't be here, so I'll worry about it later. But this new moon is very powerful for creating something for the self, to experience it in your community, within your everyday life, and to move yourself into a place you've never experienced before. And this is the background to Pluto in your first house. Or I should say, this is the Pluto's the background to this configuration right now. All right, now let's go to the 30th, where we will see Neptune dip its toe into Aries. It will retrograde back into its domicile a little later in the year with Saturn. But here we'll start to feel the energy, and we can see that, we have this here, we have more sequence. We've got 0, 29, 28, 27. As you connect intentionally with your soul, with the bigger part of you in the universe, your guides, your angels, God, whoever you consider divinity, there could be so much power that comes through this time, so much information, so much revelation, so much fertile ground to really start to feel your personal creative talents within yourself, and then moving them even more, I want to say intentionally, but also the word radical came into my mind. And Aquarius is radical. And as I was looking at the chart, I realized that in June, Jupiter's going to move into your 6th house of work. So you could really start capitalizing on being brave at birthing your creativity. And I don't really care whether you think other people will like it, because it will find its audience. And I think that's what Jupiter offers, as Jupiter moves expansively into your house of work and of potential money making. So let me stop my share right now. This is a pivotal time for you, Aquarius, because with Pluto moving through your first house for the next 20 years, you're on a soul level have contracted to move into your future, into higher frequencies of awareness and vibration within the universe. and be part of a team of souls that have chosen to help usher in the human race into this galactic community. And that's part of the beauty of how you roll, because you really do revolutionize that which is stuck and bring us into more community. And sometimes that community is so vast that it can feel as if the individual is lost. But you have an opportunity through your creativity and your second and third house dynamics right now to really feel your individuality contribute to the collective. And in that, feel a lot of fulfillment and a lot of joy. All right, that's it for me, Teri Hunter, for the month of March 2025. At the end of the video, there is a couple of links that you can click on, the Venus Mercury link. There's also, I do live readings Wednesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. where I pull out the tarot cards and you get to put your personal question in the chat. And we address it. If you decide to donate through Super Chat or Super Thanks, you tend to go up in the line. But either way, we try to get all the questions answered every Wednesday. Also, I am live on Sunday mornings from 11 a.m. to about 12:30, and that's where we look at the week ahead transits, and we do have a little chat about that and do another little reading. So please join me, please like, please subscribe, please share, and have a beautiful March. I'll see you in April.